In Homestead, Florida, stands one of this generation's megalithic structures, built by a single man named Ed Leedskalnin. First in Florida City, he relocated the entire castle to Homestead, Florida, where he completed the work. Frequently compared to the pyramids at Giza, the heads of Easter Island, and Stonehenge, we look at Coral Castle. One giant question remains. How did he build this? The only first-hand accounts that we have of other people watching Ed work is only at night, where he has been said to sing to the stones that now make up what he called Rock Gate. Many of these single pieces of rock weigh over 1,000 tons, and the question remains, how did he do this? We explore this question among many other questions about the nature of our reality, hidden technology, mathematics, and the world energy grid. Come along with me on this journey as we look into just how Ed Leedskalnin created Coral Castle. Hello everyone, welcome to the Yissel Missile Productions channel. My name is Steven Yassel, and today we are continuing our deep dive series on Coral Castle, and this is part 18. Last time we were here, we were reading from the Energy Grid by Cathie. And we have 2 chapters to go through today. They're fairly short, but they're packed with a lot of information. So, happy to have you all here. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video. It helps with the algorithms and helps get new viewers to notice this channel. Also, we have memberships open. You can get exclusive content from me on all of these deep dive series. I have new ones that I'm planning to release, and I am working hard to get those all put together and out for members. A benefit of being a member is you'll be able to get some of these deep dives before everyone else, and also exclusive content not released to anyone else. And it helps the channel along. This is something I do take very seriously. I'm a lifelong filmmaker, digital video editor, and these deep dive series are new to me for this year, but I think I'm getting the hang of these. So today we'll be looking at chapter 10, the maps of the ancients. We also have for today, Chapter 11. Russians and Germans discover a world grid system. Now, Ed Leedskalnin is mentioned in this book. It's more so near the end, but we are looking through this in its entirety, seeking answers to how Ed built this castle. A lot of the technology that he used, it was lost shortly after his passing. I believe the castle was raided for its technology, and it's been lost to time. But Coral Castle is still here, and based off of all the information that we have so far, we will try to figure out what exactly is going on. So I thank you all for being here again. If you're watching this after the fact, just remember to leave a like and comment. It does help a lot. All right. So, Chapter 10, The Maps of the Ancients. Who were the ancients who mapped the coastline of Antarctica, long buried under massive layers of ice and hidden from the eyes of modern man? It is only in recent years that our scientists have probed beneath the ice with electronic instruments and found the contour of the coastline deep down below the surface. It has been said that either the cartographers of old had the same scientific means of doing the job as we have, or that the coast was then free of ice and the contours mapped from a high altitude. This would mean that our ancestors had some means of air travel. We shall not venture too far into that, though much has been written on the subject. The maps themselves are the greatest interest to us from a scientific and a mathematical point of view. Charles H. Hapgood, a professor at Keene State College of the University of New Hampshire in the United States, has provided a complete scientific analysis of one of these maps, which indicates a very advanced level of mathematics as the basis for construction. The chart used for the project was a copy of an old parchment now known as the Piri-Reis map. It was discovered in 1929 in the Imperial Palace in Constantinople, and according to the date inscribed, was produced in 1513. The signature found on it was that of Piri ibn Hati Mahmud, known as Piri-Reis, at that time an admiral in the Turkish Navy. So I've actually heard about this map. A lot of these other deep dive videos that I've watched over the years, it's gotten into some interesting stuff with these maps. Just checking a few things here. All right. What caused a special interest in this map was the fact that it showed South America and Africa in their correct relative longitudes. As there was no means of calculating longitude in the 16th century, this caused much puzzlement amongst the scientists. In 1956, attention was again centered on the map when a copy was presented to the United States Navy Hydrographic Office by a Turkish naval officer. A member of the staff referred the map to a friend, Captain Arlington H. Mallory, who had made a study of the ancient Viking maps of North America and Greenland. It was Mallory who suggested that the original map was made before the coast of Antarctica was covered in ice. He said it was his opinion that the southern part of the map traced out the inlets and islands of the Antarctic coast, which are now buried under millions of tons of ice. Many other scientists conceded that Mallory may be right, and subsequently, Charles Hapgood decided to investigate the map in a thoroughly scientific way at Keene State College. He was helped to a great extent in the venture by a number of his students. Their first step was to antiquate themselves with as much information as possible in regard to medieval maps. They concentrated mainly on the old sea charts, or quote, Portolan maps, and this is spelled Portolan, which guided the sailors of old from port to port. It was found that the old charts appeared to have been copied from a more ancient master map. What pointed to this was the fact that no major change had been made in the maps for over 200 years, dating from the 14th century. The original map had been so accurately constructed that no one in that period had the knowledge to improve on it. Mr. Hapgood states in his book that, quote, the evidence pointed to their origin in a culture with a higher level of technology than was attained in medieval or ancient times, end quote. It was a difficult task to determine the method of construction of the chart, but it was finally decided that the only possible way would have been to work from some central point. From this, the mapmaker would select a radius of sufficient length to cover the area he wished to reproduce, and then draw a circle. The circle would then be divided up into 16 equal triangular segments, each of which subtended an angle of 22.5 degrees at the center. If the points of intersection of the various radii and the periphery of the circle were then joined, 4 different squares could be drawn to form the basis of a grid. By choosing one of the squares and drawing a series of lines parallel to the sides of the square and at right angles to each other, the map lattice would be completed. The details of the map could then be plotted in. If the grid line which passed through the center of the circle was oriented towards the north, then the map lattice would be much the same as that used in modern-day construction. The difficult part was to find out where the center for the Piri Reis's chart had been placed, as only a small fragment of the map remained. it could be seen that its center would have been in a position a long way to the east. A number of different projections were calculated over a period of 3 years, and each time it was found that errors in either latitude or longitude resulted. By gradually lengthening and shortening the radius and shifting the central point, it was eventually discovered that the most probable position for the center was at 23.5 degrees north and 30 degrees east. The radius, which was finally calculated to give the best results, proved to be 69.5 degrees long. Here again, we have a very strong indication that our ancestors had an extensive knowledge of science and mathematics. The value of 69.5 degrees for the radius is very close to the natural Earth harmonic geometric of 6944, which is covered in Chapter 12, which we'll be covering next week. And the reciprocal of the pure harmonic of light. The map makers of that time apparently used a method of map projection, which was based on universal mathematical constants, which afforded them great accuracy in planning the surface features of the Earth and plotting them. So there is one of these diagrams here. And it says the diagram shows the most probable position for the center of the map projection. So this was how maps were drawn for hundreds of years. That's all for chapter 10. So these are short chapters. But, yeah, it's a lot to think about here. So the Piri Reis map from 1513. Keep that in mind. And we will continue on to chapter 11 here. Russians and Germans discover a world grid system. Pythagoras taught that all the elements contained in the physical universe were built up from geometrical figures. The most interesting of these was the pentadodecahedron, which was identified as the, quote, sphere of the universe, end quote, or the, quote, hull of the sphere, end quote. The construction of the world was likened to the building of a ship by the use of geometrical shapes. Plato also referred to this in the Phaedo, where we see a statement that the, quote, true earth, end quote, if looked at from above, is, quote, many colored like the balls that are made of many pieces of leather, end quote. Out of the regular solids, the dodecahedron is the one that most closely approaches that of a sphere. It is a solid that is bounded by 12 surfaces, and in the case of the pentagon dodecahedron, 12 regular pentagons. If a ball were made up of 12 pieces of leather, the pieces would be in the shape of a regular pentagon. If the pieces were not flexible, but rigid, the geometric body would be a dodecahedron instead of a sphere. The ancient philosophers regarded this geometric figure as the building block of the universe, and the knowledge was so secret that anyone revealing it was immediately put to death. It is possible for this reason that the schools of mysticism adopted the pentagram or Pant Alpha as their symbol. There was considered to be much magic power in the five-sided figure, and the Pythagoreans regarded it as a symbol of health. Is the Earth some sort of gigantic crystal with a rigid skeletal-like structure beneath the surface? The Russians ran a story to this effect in 1973 in Komsomolskaya Pravda, the official newspaper for the younger generation of the Soviet Union. The globe was not just the simple spheroid that we imagined. The suggestion was that it first started out as a large crystal with angular dimensions, and that after millions of years wearing down processes, the crystal finally rounded itself into a ball. Let's just humor this, all right? According to Soviet scientists, the angular edges of the primary crystal now lie beneath the surface of the Earth. In some areas, the edges of the crystal protrude imperceptibly through the surface, giving us a slight clue to the overall pattern beneath. Knowing nothing of these theories, a Russian historian by the name of Nikolai Goncharov had a hunch that there might be a pattern to all the centers of earliest human culture, and accordingly began to mark them out on a globe. Later, collaboration with a construction engineer, his name's a little hard to pronounce, Vyacheslav Morozov. It's spelled Vyacheslav, Morozov. And an electronics specialist, Valery Makarov, led to a complete hypothesis concerning the geometric nature of the Earth. After working together for several years, they published an article in the science journal Chemistry and Life, issued by the USSR Academy of Sciences. The article was headed, quote, "Is the Earth a large crystal?" End quote. The article was based on studies covering widely separated fields such as archaeology, geochemistry, ornithology, and meteorology. They theorized that the Earth projects from within itself a dual geometrically regularized grid. The initial form of the grid being 12 pentagonal slabs over the surface of the sphere gave evidence to the fact that the first shape of the Earth was a dodecahedron. The second part of the grid is formed by 20 equilateral triangles making up an icosahedron, and this is spelled Icosahedron. They maintain that by superimposing the two grids over the surface of the Earth, a pattern of the Earth's energy structure can be perceived. A careful study of the Russian system showed that the lines tracing out their dual grid on the Earth's surface coincided with zones of active risings and depressions on the ocean floors, core faults, and mid-oceanic ridges. One of the vertices of the triangles falls just east of Florida, near the center of the infamous, quote, Devil's Bermuda Triangle, end quote, known worldwide as an area of mysterious disappearances of numerous ships and aircraft. It is now known that there are 12 of these areas. I'm covering all of this information on Thursday's shows with the deep dives into the Bermuda Triangle. So if you want even more insight into that, go check that out. It's an ongoing series right now on this channel. It was also noted that at various positions on the edges of the polygons, scientists have discovered regions of seismic and volcanic activity. Magnetic anomalies are likewise found at the vertices of the polygons. The nodes of the grid are centers of great changes in atmospheric pressure, and hurricanes form in these areas, veering off to follow the paths of intersection formed by the interlocking patterns. Prevailing winds and ocean currents also fit into the network. An extremely interesting point of the system is in the African Republic of Gabon, spelled Gabon. According to the scientists, a, quote, natural atomic reactor, end quote, was recently discovered there, which was active 1.7 billion years ago. Hey Texas, I see you in the chat there. Let me know if the audio levels are okay for you. An extremely interesting point of the system is in the African Republic of Gabon. According to the scientists, a natural atomic reactor was recently discovered there. This caused a mass of uranium-235 to reach a level of chain reaction. Oddly enough, this piece of evidence backs up the information published in my first two books regarding the geometric nature of atomic reactions. Certain modern-day atomic stations must be constructed on geometric locations in order to function effectively and efficiently and hold on a minute. In order to function efficiently, breeder stations in particular. I don't know, that was weirded really weird. An atomic bomb is a geometric device which necessitates geometric positioning for detonation. Thank you, Texas. Audio's good. Yeah, so this, I'm not sure, because both of these Tuesday and Thursday shows are kind of blending into each other now for me in my head here. But the atomics here, they have to be lined up. I do think we talked about this on Thursday's show a few weeks ago. The atomics need to be lined up with the grid in order to detonate. Meaning they won't detonate if the grid is off a bit. And this has to also do with certain times of the year. So think of it like a window for the detonation to go off, and then other times it's just not possible. Large mother lodes of mineral ore and vast oil deposits can be found where lines of the system cross each other. A whole new science is beginning to unfold from research into the geometric makeup of the world beneath our feet. Satellite photographs have been correlated with the grid. The Ural fold, spelt U-R-A-L, extends along one of the lines, and a gigantic fault from Morocco to Pakistan coincides with one of the ribs. Large circular geological structures show up on intersections in Morocco, California, and Florida. Even soil is apparently affected according to its locations on the grid. At different intersections, the very elements making up the soil are mixed in different proportions. Man himself, the authors say, has not escaped the influences of the energy emitted by the grid lattice. Many of the ancient cultures seem to have flourished on intersections of the system. The mind of man is evidently tapped into the very circuitry of the ball of energy that constitutes the world that provides his home. Most startling of all is the revelation in their article that to line the system up on the surface of the globe so that all these different factors could be correlated, the point they located as position 1 was that of the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. The quote, measure of light, end quote, is the key. It is obvious from these reports that the Russians are working along the same lines as I have been. I, too, had found similar manifestations in geometric locations around the world by the study of two interlocking grid patterns. The Russian grid was shaped differently to mine, but the same facts were becoming evident from the related research efforts. This hinted at the probability that the same mathematical concepts could be applied to either system. The Russians are certainly onto something, and a much more extensive, in-depth study will have to be made of the network they have uncovered in order to, quote, wrinkle out, end quote, all the secrets inherent within it. Suffice it to say that enough is known at this stage to guarantee a gold mine of scientific truths. The Germans are not to be left out in the exploration of the energy fields within the Earth. they are known to be far-reaching in the realms of science and not afraid to explore or put into practice concepts which to most other Western scientists appear fantastic. The quote, buzz bombs, end quote, V-2 rockets, and jet aircraft developed during World War II are direct proof of this. A book written by Siegfried Wittmann was published in Innsbruck, Austria, in 1952. It was titled The World of the Secret Forces. An unusual number of people were involved in the research that went into the subject matter of the book. The group formed a very impressive mixture of professional minds to be focused upon one project. Those included Dr. Willi Schlosser, Professor Helmut Wolff, Hans Wilhelm Smolk, Heinrich Rieblitz, Theodor Wyman, Herbert A. Lolling, Ferdinand Reich, University Professor Dr. Hubert J. Urban, Director Professor and Dr. K. Saller, Professor and Dr. George Anschutz, and Professor Dr. Thiel, along with Adolf Koberle. After extensive research, they came to the conclusion that the Earth has upon its surface a grid system in a checkerboard pattern consisting of positive and negative poles. This is a lot of people. This isn't just some one-off person doing this study here. This is a lot of people with knowledge behind it, okay? I'm just saying this for the people that are still questioning all of this research here. The squared pattern, according to them, has a center pole surrounded by 8 smaller poles within each section. The squares vary in size from the equator, getting smaller in the direction of the Earth's poles. The main pole concentrates energy. Experiments conducted at north latitude 48 degrees indicated that the center pole has a diameter of 2.45 meters. The 8 smaller poles have a diameter of 60 centimeters. 4 of the 8 outer poles send energy up toward the sky in alternate pulses. The other 4 send energy outward horizontally to the north, south, east, and west. The squares at 48 degrees north latitude are 15.9 meters diagonally from center to center poles. A border field is mingled together in the northwest and southeast directions, and in the southwest and northeast directions. These 4 corners of the squares seem to connect the fields of 2 of the negative smaller poles and 2 of the positive smaller poles. The side length measurements at the equator are 32 meters long. The main center pole of each positive square shows the direction of energy from above to below the Earth's surface. The created pulse forms a vortex. The negative poles work in the opposite sense. Not much more is known to me of the German research effort at this stage, as I have only cited extracts from the book. One thing does stand out, however, from the scanty bits of information that I do have. The Germans carried out many of their experiments on latitude 48 degrees. What made them select this particular latitude in preference to any other? Could it be that 48 degrees happened to be 2,880 minutes of arc? Have they also discovered that the harmonic of twice the speed of light is 288? The unified equation derived from this harmonic cannot be a particularly well-kept secret. This band of learned men appears to be aware of a grid complex similar to the one I described in my earlier writings. I would be most interested to be advised of their complete findings, particularly if they are now in possession of the knowledge to make use of the energy being radiated by the system. I have a feeling that there are many people, or small groups of people, in the world that know the secrets of tapping free energy from the Earth grid, and that the knowledge has always been available to the select few. As far back as 1919, at least one man demonstrated that he could run electric motors and lighting systems without having to pay the power companies 1 cent for the power he used. A young 19-year-old inventive genius by the name of Alfred Hubbard startled his contemporaries by powering an 18-foot boat around Portage Bay, not far from Seattle, by the use of a free energy device. The boat was driven by a 35 horsepower motor without the aid of batteries. The electrical energy was supplied from a transducer within the boat. This device was in exact electrical resonance with his free energy transformer, which had been constructed on a small area of land. The transformer was supplied by energy collected from an array of ground aerials. Wires were run underground, north, south, east, and west for a distance of 1,200 feet. At the outer end of each wire was attached a hollow tube 18 inches long, filled with mercury. In parentheses here it says, from other information I have, I would assume that the tubes were made from pure iron. The reason for the iron-mercury combination will be discussed in another section. End of parentheses. The mercury-filled tube combination apparently created an electrical one-way gate system which directed the energy flow to the central primary coil. And this isn't the first time that we've had mercury referenced on this channel. Our Thursday deep dives into the Bermuda Triangle, we started talking about mercury in the ocean and naturally occurring mercury that runs off of riverbeds. It's a multiple chain reaction that happens in the salt water. But anyways, Let's carry on here. We're almost done. The information I have states that Hubbard made the use of what the Chinese call the, quote, cosmic flower, end quote. This was, according to them, the source of all power. The electrical energy which was directed into the central coil of the system caused a resonating pulse tuned to the natural Earth frequency. This caused an electrical current to flow through the secondary coil of the apparatus due to induction. The coils were said to be round-shaped in both the primary and the secondary. The secondary coil, in one instance, was wound in a diamond configuration, or wound like a basket. I have a sneaking suspicion that the two superimposed coils had a similar configuration to the Russian grid pattern. In parentheses, it says pentagonal or triangular. End of parentheses. But this will have to wait until experiments can be carried out. Also in parentheses, it says, any further factual information from readers will be most welcome. End of parentheses. I also ask all you out there too about that. If you have anything to add at all to this discussion, feel free. A small outlay of capital and a series of experiments could, with a bit of luck, demonstrate one of the methods of extracting free energy from the Earth. If the secret can be broken, it should be possible to run several homes from such a device. I leave this open to those of you who have a streak of inventive genius. Now we have one diagram here. And this is the end of the chapter 2. A lot of this information is cross-referencing to the Bermuda Triangle stuff. But that's the end of chapter 11. So we read 2 chapters here today. It's very short, actually. I would get into chapter 12 today, but it is nearly 20 pages. And I would like to save that for next week. Because this is a lot to take in. But, yeah, we'll talk a little bit before we end here. But for next week, we have chapter 12, Tesla, the Forgotten Genius. You know, it makes me wonder why the government agency of NASA used the name of Hubbard. I'm pretty sure they did for something. But that's what I recall when I hear that name. It's almost like these inventors, they got rid of the technology. Others got rid of the technology. But the only evidence that it's there are these individuals' names. Otherwise, you don't hear about it. And the world is distracted by everything else going on. And with chaos and destruction happening all the time, places being wiped out, you end up going back to square one. You're not going to be talking about the energy grid anymore, are you? You're going to be wondering where you're going to get your next meal. It's all by design. That's just how it is. You see my channel here. We have 2,000 subs, right? It tells me 3 people are watching. This information is not supposed to get out. I think that's fairly obvious at this point. We're 18 parts in. But it's getting out there. I'm putting all of this on my other platforms. I have BitChute. Everything's in the description. I'm updating BitChute right now. And I also have a Rumble channel and a few other platforms. But take time to soak this information in. Because a lot of this is cross-referencing with these other deep dives now that I'm doing simultaneously here. Just a quick update for tomorrow. Instead of running the Bermuda Triangle show on Thursday, I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I'm bumping it ahead a day. Same time, 6 p.m. But if you can catch it live, I'd very much appreciate it. But I know that this website of YouTube's not showing it to anybody. I don't know why. And I share the link out to everyone. Like, what am I supposed to do? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the new intro. If you didn't see it, go back after the live and check it out. But, yeah, if you like what I'm doing here, please let me know. Otherwise, it's just thoughts that go away. And we all need to support each other on here. There are several YouTube channels that I have followed for many years that I learned of just the other day. That there's some sort of hacking going on where I think it's people clicking on links they shouldn't be in emails that are posing as YouTube. But ultimately what it's doing is wiping out entire channels and putting up AI generated music. It's just really sad, because I don't even know if I've saved some of the videos that I've watched on these channels. And the information just disappears. So I'll keep doing this, and tomorrow will be the Bermuda Triangle show. And I think I'm going to be launching the Great Lakes Triangle show this week, and that'll be for members only. So Jay Wild will be the first one to see that. And I'll have the other deep dive series going very soon. Gravity Hills, fiat currency, a few others on cryptids and the paranormal. But as I introduce these new series, some of them will be slow leak. Like, when I release them to my members, only they will get them first. And then over time, let's say like 2 weeks, they'll go public for free for everyone else. And some of it's also just to get insight and feedback on how I'm developing all these shows and what you guys would like to see. And I enjoy doing all this stuff, but it does take time away from other things. It's not an issue, but I do want everyone to realize that I am a person doing this live, running a production. I'm not AI. And it is just very disheartening seeing some of these channels just disappear. So I have backup channels in my description as well, but I'm not too concerned about that quite yet. Texas is asking for what purpose the AI music. What I think's happening are scammers are getting these channels by having the user click on a link that gains them access to the YouTube channel. They wipe the whole channel, they keep the subscribers, and then they put these short videos up that generate income for them. So they decouple the bank and they put a different bank on there. It's really messed up. So it's something with Google AdSense too, I believe. Because it, like, why else would this be happening? I think it's hackers in third world countries doing this, trying to make 20-30 grand off of some of these channels. Because these channels have a lot of subscribers and they get a lot of views. But that's why if you don't have any other social media to cross-reference, you won't know if these creators end up disappearing or why the channel went down. So it's troubling to me. I wouldn't want that to happen here. I don't think it will. But that's why I have everything in my description down here. Like, I have TikTok, which I haven't updated in a little over a month or two. I haven't put any of the deep dive series up on TikTok, but eventually I will. And I prefer putting the long format videos up. I will put shorts up, but like, it just takes a lot of time. I can't be doing this every single day, considering I'm trying to earn an income doing other projects here. Side gig filming, reselling on eBay, that's a large one. Also, the link to my eBay store is in the description. I sell a lot of physical media. And, yeah, it's the way it is right now. Until I can do this full time, this is how I have to operate here. So that's why I also have the memberships open. Paid memberships monthly. You guys will help me be able to purchase a lot more difficult books to get. I have quite a list of books that I'd like to jump into and read out loud on this channel here, but I also have a lot of books already on the shelf that I have yet to do shows and presentations about. But this is going to be a long series. This Coral Castle will be very long. I expect this going past part 30, but it's only because we're getting into all of this content with mathematics and the world grid, and it pertains to the Coral Castle. It's talked about in this book. It's near the end of it where Coral Castle's mentioned. But you see everything we have to read before we get to that part. So, I mean, this channel isn't for somebody that is just looking for a quick answer. We already went through this is the book that we started the series with. Went through all of that. Found out some interesting things about Ed and the way that he could have designed the castle, but we didn't get any concrete answers. So now, one of two main books that were referenced in this book this is one of them. And we're getting through this, and then we're getting through the second book, and then I'm not sure where we're going to go from there. But this has a list on the back of it of all these other books, all dealing with the grid and anti-gravity concepts. So, as I show in the beginning of my intros, Ed was using harmonics. That's where my understanding's at right now with all of this. He was using harmonics even to the extent of just humming and singing, which if he just memorized what notes to hum to, what frequency to make this stuff weightless, essentially. The guy was 5 foot, and he did this all by himself. So it just creates more questions. It piques my curiosity. It's so much information to bring in, and it's fascinating at the same time. Yeah, Texas, scammers have no mercy nowadays, he says. Yeah, I have these other channels that were covering these like glitches with reality and all that. Like they were covering a lot of these concepts that really would get shunned in the public eye. But like I don't care. I don't care at this point. So I'm trying to get this stuff out, and it's not letting me reach the amount of people I should be reaching right now. But that's what these other platforms are for, right? TikTok, Instagram. Although I don't use those platforms that much because it's a time drain. For me personally, I can't really speak for anyone else, but I can only scroll for so long, and then you'll kind of get lost in, like, why did I open the app in the first place? So it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of discipline just to keep content moving and going forward. And I'm not doing this just to eat up everyone's time. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this stuff. And again, I am a person. I'm a human being. So, you know I'm going to be mispronouncing things in here. I'm reading to the best of my abilities. Trying to limit the distractions here. And give you the best presentation possible. And if you want something clean and slick, go check out the AI videos. But I mean, I said to someone else that runs another channel, but they're soulless. If you want to create content, don't throw like your papers into the AI voiceover generator. And I want to see the personal touch on things. And there's only so much that you can do with AI, and then it just kind of drops off. I want to know that there's another person on the other end of this. So just, I guess, keep an eye out for suspicious links. Obviously, don't open any links and emails from people you don't know. It's a basic rule for working with technology today, being on computers. Just don't click on links. It's going to give the other person access to a lot of your information. So I guess this is a warning to everyone else. Just in general, everyone, just make sure you're not just clicking around doing whatever. And this goes for all of these social medias where you scroll through videos. Like, make sure you're not just randomly clicking a link in the description and it says like bit.ly or something, or tiny URL, because they're trying to mask what these actual links are, and it'll compromise a lot of your sensitive information. And thankfully it hasn't happened to me, and hopefully it won't happen. Thank you, Texas. Texas says it's getting out. Trust the process. Yeah, I know. I know it is. It really... It takes a toll on the psyche. I've been doing professional video production and editing for my whole life. And just seeing all of this pop up, you have like 2-3 months of a channel, brand new channel, all AI. You never see the person that's running it. And in some cases you really don't have to on real channels. But these AI channels, you don't feel anything on it. At least with my experience, I don't feel anything from these videos. And yeah, Texas also says, for me, hearing the AI voice on a video makes me skip it. Yeah, and some of them feel really annoying too. Like quoting word for word what a question was and the answer. Like, that's a common theme that I've heard on some of these videos. Like, I watch some of these and I don't know that they're AI yet. And then I'm like, wait, something's off with the way they're speaking. And then eventually I catch on, and then I make sure not to go back to watch any of those again. Or I just say not interested. There's a lot of these things with the scrolling. You're going to get a lot of junk thrown your way if you just mindlessly scroll. So right now, for my own subscriptions for the channels I follow on YouTube, I'm starting to scale back. I'm getting rid of some of the subscriptions so that I can make time to watch the people that I truly want to spend time watching. And even though I have all of these, I got hundreds of subscriptions that I would like to keep up with, but there's just not enough time in the day. So I try to watch what I can, and a lot of it's related to all of this that we're talking about here. But yeah, we're still moving forward. So this channel, we're gonna have Wednesday's show tomorrow, or Thursday's show tomorrow. We're moving it to Wednesday because I have other things to do on Thursday. I gotta plan ahead for this trip that I'm taking next month. So I'm making time to do that tomorrow, 6 p.m. It'll be the Bermuda Triangle show. We'll be continuing the chapter we left off on, and we're covering all the plane disappearances in this. It's real interesting, too, that the Bermuda Triangle came up in today's show here on Coral Castle. But it's so close in proximity to it, it makes sense. So that's about it. I think I went a little too long today. I'm trying to keep these extra comments for Sunday's show, but I think this is really important to talk about the safety of everyone while they're browsing the internet. And yeah, again, thank you for watching, and I hope all you have a good rest of your evening. But make sure to tune in tomorrow if you can. And we'll be carrying on with the Bermuda Triangle. Saturday is the Chicago Film Industry Series. We have 2 shows left of that. And then that deep dive's complete. And I'm sectioning off different stuff, different content with the Chicago filmmaking side of things, like Hollywood's use of Chicago locations in films. That'll be a whole series on its own. And the early foundations of Hollywood, that'll also be another show. And eventually I'll be doing film reviews of some of the most influential films to me. And that'll be available to members first. So, over time, I'm going to have a catalog of exclusive content that I'm constantly in the process of creating. But over time, it'll be a pretty good catalog. And the rest of it's really going to be free for all of you. This show, tomorrow's show, Saturday's show, Sunday's show, 4 shows a week. If I could run this on my own website, on my own video platform, I would do so, but that would require a lot of funding. So that's something probably for the distant future. But in the meantime here, this is just what we have to work with. But that'll be it for today. Thank you, Texas, for being here. And for all of you watching later on, thank you for sticking around till the end here. And until the next one, class dismissed.
Mm-hmm.